motion picture.
Army, tonight we shower.
The Flintstones in Viva Rock Circus. Rated PG. France April 28.
So yeah, you see what I'm talking about here. None of the people from the original movie are back here. You don't have John Goodman. You don't have Rick Moranis. You don't have Elizabeth Perkins. You don't have Rosie O'Donnell. But you have actors who are bad choices for the most part. I mean, Mark Addy does kind of look like Fred. Mark Addy, of course, was from the Full Monty. Stephen Baldwin as Barney Rubble is kind of funny. But Jane Krakowski as Betty and Kristen Johnson as Wilma, like, I mean, this just has a ton of problems that we'll delve into here. But basically, you have a story here that's basically the prequel to the original movie. Not just the original movie, but the story of the Flintstones, of course, because Fred and Barney are these bachelors, and they meet Wilma Slaghoople and her friend Betty, and they go on an adventure in Rock Vegas where they're deal with this villain played by Thomas Gibson, who's trying to woo Wilma as well. You also have Joan Collins, Harvey Korman, and we also have the Great Gazoo in here because, yeah, he's a popular character, I guess, and he's played by Alan Cumming, which is not as bad as you would think, especially when you consider that Son of the Mask is yet to come out yet. Then that's the scariest you'll ever see Alan Cumming. Trust me, we'll get to that one later on down the road, but it's the same director, Brian Levant, who directed Jingle All the Way and also directed the original Flintstones, but, yeah, you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. This coming about 3 years too late. If this was released in 96 or 97, then maybe I could see it existing, but it's 2000. Like, the Flintstones were still very popular as the TV show, and the movie was still playing on TV a lot back then, but it's been 6 years, man. You can't. I have this thing with comedy sequels. Like, if you're gonna do a comedy sequel, you got to do it between 2 to 4 years. 2 to 4 years between the first comedy sequel's release, the first comedy's release, and then the sequel afterward. If you're doing it more than that, you're struggling to find something there. Like, we've had a lot of those recently, stuff like Coming to America, which was a pointless sequel on so many levels. But the Hangover movies are another example. Probably one of the rare examples of a sequel that's just one of the most pointless trilogies of all time. And this, I mean, look, the first Flintstones movie is no classic by any means. For nostalgic sake, it's a fine movie, but it definitely looked like they were trying to do more in that movie than anything in this film. I mean, this thing just seems like a pointless film from the get-go. Now, don't get me wrong, casting Jane Krakowski and Kristen Johnson as Betty and Wilma is fine, I guess. I mean, I like Jane Krakowski. I like her on Ally McBeal, 30 Rock. Kristen Johnson's funny on Third Rock from the Sun. But you got to give him something funny to work with here. You know, as is casting Mark Addy as Fred, and also Stephen Baldwin as Barney, which I actually think that's kind of funny. But the first movie was riding on John Goodman and Rick Moranis. This one is riding on the dude from the Full Monty and the dude from Biodome. Start to see the problem here? And, yeah, there's way too much going on here. Like, they feel obligated to throw in every single Flintstone reference they could. From Dino being thrown in there for no particular reason. He's just kind of there to just be Dino, of course. And we gotta use those Mel Blanc barks at some point during the movie. All the way up to the Great Gazoo, which makes no sense because the Great Gazoo in the original show doesn't show up until halfway through the series. Like, so now you've just created this insane continuity error, and you know, the funny thing, Alan Cumming, as much as I criticized him before, he's probably one of the best things about the movie, because he's at least trying to save whatever he can in this movie. I mean, he's not doing a great job. He's not really given a whole lot to do, but goddamn, he's putting his all into it. The story overall, it's just falling into a lot of cliche territory, so much so that it's pretty much ripping off the first movie on a number of different levels, and like the bad guy's evil plan is very similar to the plan from the first movie. Like, they didn't even try to do something different. They just put this out there because they had to keep the rights to make these movies in case they wanted to make a third one, which they never did. And that's probably a good thing, because this movie just is a miserable mess of a film on so many levels. It's not funny. It's not enjoyable. Sometimes the effects look okay, but at the same time, they really don't. It doesn't help when the film is a completely pointless waste of time, and this is a pointless waste of time. You did not need this movie. Like, give us something more with these characters. Do something different. Do something unique. Like, you could do other things with this movie. Like, I always see people say that this movie is one of those films that is better. They think it's better than the original film. No, the original Flintstones movie was not a classic by any means, but that one was at least trying, and actually had elements about it that still works, even after all these years. But this is just a mess of a film. Like, avoid this one like the plague. Avoid this one like crazy. This is a bad film. A really, really bad film, and not a great way to start this week up.
This summer, take a magical trip to a world unlike any other. An enchanting place where adventure is only a whistle away. Destination Films presents Alec Baldwin, Peter Fonda, Mara Wilson, and Thomas.
Little engines can do big things.
Things are gonna change around here, puffball.
Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Rolling into theaters everywhere, July 2000.
Yeah, Thomas really should not have that look on his face when that guy comes up there and says things are going to change around here. I mean, I don't know what the hell they were thinking on that one, but you could say that's part of the many, many problems of this particular film. This is, of course, based off the Thomas the Tank Engine film TV series. It's the only movie they've done so far, although they keep talking about doing another one with Mark Forster as the director, but they've been talking about that for a couple years now. And basically in this one here, you have Mara Wilson playing Lily Stone, the granddaughter of this caretaker played by Peter Fonda of an enchanted steam engine who was lacking an appropriate supply of coal, and Mr. Conductor, played here by Alec Baldwin of Shining Time Station, whose provisions of magical gold dust are at a critical low. Lily and Mr. Conductor have to enlist the help of Thomas the Tank Engine, who confronts the ruthless steam engine-hating Diesel 10 along the way. And this is a film that really is very interesting in how, even though the creator of the Thomas the Tank Engine series is behind this, as she's the writer and director here, she literally left the company after this movie came out, and because the film was so poorly presented. I mean, it's weird because it was a bomb, but it basically made its budget back. It only had a budget of like $19 million. I think it made a little bit over that, about close to $20 million overall, but the fact that she left her company 2 months after this came out, and basically the series had to be redone all over again after she left, it's just like, it should pretty much tell you everything you need to know about how bad this movie ends up being. And I think it's bad mostly because you have 3 different performances in here that are just all over the place. Alec Baldwin's playing this a little too over the top for his own good. Mara Wilson really does not look like she wants to be there right now. I mean, this is basically the last major movie that she was in, for the most part, when she was still considered that girl from Mrs. Doubtfire, Miracle on 34th Street, Matilda. And her career was kind of dying out at this point, as far as what she was back then. I mean, it's kind of gained a little bit of a renaissance since then. But then you have Peter Fonda, who thinks he's in an Academy Award-worthy film, giving 2 series of performance for a movie called Thomas and the Magic Railroad, starring Thomas the Tank Engine. I mean, my God. This is Easy Rider here, guys. This is a guy that has been in so many bigger, much more important movies than this, and he's pretending like this is going to win him an Academy Award. And it really, those 3 elements balancing into this film really does not work in the end. And in a way, this kind of reminds me, you know what this kind of reminded me of? It kind of reminded me of Barney's Great Adventure, the movie that came out a couple years before this. Really did not need to go to the big screen, and actually looked pretty cheap on its own merits. But you know what? They were at least trying to do something interesting and fun in that movie. They're not doing anything of that in this movie. You have too many performances going in too many different directions for the movie. It really should not be this way for, again, a film starring Thomas the Tank Engine. Like, I'm not expecting anything. I'm not expecting a Shakespearean storyline or something deep and all that, or even something is. But you have to know your audience when you're making this movie, and I think this director the creator of this had way too many high ambitions for this, and it ended up backfiring in a big way. The movie is largely forgotten, and Thomas the Tank Engine has basically gone back to the way that we remember as kids. I mean, it's still popular to this very day, but nobody ever talks about this movie, and that's for good reason, because it just really does not fly with what we used to seeing from the world of Thomas the Tank Engine and Shining Time Station. Not much more I can add to that. I mean, this is a film that really fell apart right from the get-go. And like I said, the fact that this creator left the company and this creation of hers after 2 months after the movie came out really tells you something about how bad this ended up being. So, yeah, not much more to say about that one. Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Nothing too magical about it.
It's been 3 long years since the incident. 36 months to relive every detail. 1,095 days to think about what went wrong. And 26,280 hours to plot revenge. That's 11,037,600 minutes. In dog years. Glenn Close.
Today is the first day of the rest of your life.
In Walt Disney Pictures' 102 Dalmatians. It's a brand new tale.
I mean, I get it. You didn't have any footage because you hadn't started filming. I think that trailer actually came out a year before when it was placed on Toy Story 2 in '99, but come on, man. Like, you really couldn't find a better way to show Glenn Close back in there. You had to take archival footage and do a terrible green screen job behind it. I mean, that is absolutely horrible right there. And, honestly, it's not too close to the movie itself because it's definitely a step down compared to the original film, the live-action film. So basically, after a spot of therapy, Cruella de Vil, once again played by Glenn Close, is released from prison a changed woman. Devoted to dogs and good causes, she's delighted that her parole officer has a Dalmatian family and connections to a dog charity, but the sounds of Big Ben can reverse the treatment, so it is only a matter of time before Miss DeVille is back to her incredibly ghastly ways, using her newfound connections with Chloe and friends, which basically means that we're doing the same story over. We're basically just rehashing the same story as the first movie. Nobody really changes. Everybody goes back to where they were. And as much as Glenn Close does still a pretty good job as Cruella de Vil, this one just can't be saved because of how lackluster the story is. And, like, there are some cool ideas to it. Like, I like this idea of this one Dalmatian who has no spots on him. Like, I think that's a fun idea. And yeah, occasionally it's fun to see these Dalmatians once again. But at the same time, though, what John Hughes brought to the original 101 Dalmatians, the 96 one, still holds up. And everything about that one still works for the most part. But here, it just feels like a pointless sequel on so many levels. There's nothing about this movie that has any real story to it. It's just lackluster kiddie jokes. I mean, if you want to see, Mr. Fantastic in one of his early film roles, there you go. But other than that, though, yeah, it's a complete waste of time. And luckily, they made a better version of this with 101 Dalmatians 2, the direct-to-video movie, which is one of the better Disney direct-to-video sequels when you really think about it. It's actually pretty funny and well done. I would recommend more than this movie in particular. This just isn't much fun at all. It's just a real letdown. So yeah, that's 102 Dalmatians. They didn't even try to hide how bad this movie is. I mean, my God, the effects in that trailer alone would be more than enough for me to stay the hell away from this movie. But you have the story of an empress who wishes to get hold of a mythical rod that will help her fight an evil wizard, and enlists 2 themes for the help. The empress played by Thora Birch, the evil wizard played by Jeremy Irons, and the 2 thieves played by Marlon Wayans and Justin Whalen. That's right, Andy from Child's Play 3. how the hell did anybody think this movie was going to be successful? Because it wasn't. This thing bombed pretty badly. And in fact, this movie didn't even get a theatrical release, American distributor until 3 months before it came out. This New Line Cinema basically bought the rights in August of 2000, and they basically bought it. They bought it for the date. They wanted to release it in the spring or summer of 2001 to set up more licensing and tie-in deals, but Warner Brothers wanted to get it out of there pretty quickly, and as Ain't It Cool News' Harry Knoll suggested, New Line basically made the deal to excite the fantasy film fan base into a much larger production with The Lord of the Rings, which would come out the year later, and still not a reason why you should have picked this movie up. This movie should have been dead and buried, and yeah, it's a bad movie. It's a really, really bad movie. This is unbelievably bad. This is a mess of a film. Like, the only reason you should watch this movie is for the over-the-top performances from people like Jeremy Irons, who really is just like going insane with this and just saying, screw it, I'm going to get something out of this. And he delivers some of the best moments in the movie because of how over-the-top he takes it. But other than that, though, no, this is just a bad film. And if this was the movie they were trying to get people excited about Lord of the Rings, this could have backfired really big time if Peter Jackson didn't deliver on this. In fact, I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson looked at this and said, "Oh dear God, I have to make this work somehow." And sure enough, hey, Lord of the Rings worked, but that's a year from now. We will get to that one when we get to 2001. But I digress. Dungeons and Dragons, not worth it. Definitely not worth it.
He's looking for certain qualities in a woman.
This will be fun.
Attractive,
You're very pretty.
single,
Perfect.
and dying to meet someone.
We attributed at least 11 homicides to him.
James Spader,
Not gonna make it.
Marissa Tomei, Keanu Reeves. The Watcher, rated R.
So Keanu Reeves plays David Alan Griffin, which, I'm sorry, when I think of the DAG, I think of David Alan Grier, the comedic actor. But yeah, they didn't even. It's like they didn't even try to hide the fact that they couldn't. They pretty much had the entire name except instead of IER, it's IFFIN. I mean, that's like I gotta move on here. But Keanu Reeves plays David Alan Griffin, who's a cool killer time and time again. He chooses a female victim, studies her for weeks, till he knows her routine to the smallest detail, makes meticulous preparations using his forensic knowledge to gain entry when she's quite alone, subdues her, and admits a long, torturous death. You have Joel Campbell, played by James Spader, who gets so frustrated by his failure to capture Griffin in Los Angeles that he quit the FBI, moved to Chicago, and remains in psychiatric therapy, unable to function normally. And then he realizes when opening his mail too late that a new murder victim is Griffin's, and the killer sent him pictures of her. Campbell reports this to the police, but is unwilling to join them in their search, suggesting Griffin is too slick and clever, yet he won't get out of it that easily. Funny story about how Keanu Reeves actually got involved in this, and when I say funny story, I mean, wow, what a dick move by this guy. Supposedly Keanu Reeves was not interested in the script, but he was forced to do it because his friend, the director of this movie, Joe Trebarnik, forged his signature on the contract. Some friend that guy was, but Reeves performed the role rather than getting involved into a lengthy legal battle. He reached an agreement with Universal in which he would not disclose what would happen until 12 months after the movie came out. Universal agreed to downplay Reeves' involvement in marketing, and I guess that's why he's the third-ranked name in the cast there, with James Spader and Marissa Tomei at the top, but Universal asked the film's producer to enhance Reeves' profit participation, which led Reeves to ultimately receive an additional $2 million. He was unhappy with the fact that his role, which was originally written as little more than a cameo, turned into a leading role while he was still being paid scale in contrast to the other leads. And this thing was actually called Driven at one point, even though there was another movie by Sylvester Stallone that was coming out with the same name, which we'll get into that one when we get to 2001. But yeah, what a dick move by this guy, by Keanu Reeves' supposed friend here, because when you look at this movie, it just feels like a watered-down version of American Psycho. Like, not even a good version of American Psycho, because you at least like that killer, even though what he was doing was completely wrong. But this you could just tell that Keanu Reeves had no intentions on doing this movie. I mean, he was kind of forced into it. And it's just like, there's nothing about this movie, nor the performances, that really carry the load here. And it's not an engaging mystery at all, because you know who the freaking killer is, and you don't really get invested in the story or anything like that. And this is the type of movie that a studio would usually dump out in the early month of September, weeks of September, I should say, because that usually is another dumping ground month for movies. But yeah, there's just nothing about this movie that works. It's a boring film. It's very predictable. It's very formulaic. There's nothing special about it. It's just a mess. It's a mess on so many levels. I don't think I need to say too much more about this one. This is definitely one that I'm pretty sure Keanu Reeves regrets making, and he's made some movies around this time period that he probably does definitely regret making. We'll probably get to a couple more of them when we get in the next couple of months or so. But with that said, that is The Watchers.
She will enter the mind of a killer. We don't have a lot of time. August 18th.
What? You're here.
There's no escaping. The Cell. Jennifer Lopez, Vince Vaughn, Vincent D'Onofrio. The Cell, rated R. Starts August 18th.
So The Cell, basically, you follow scientists as they use experimental technology to enter the mind of a comatose serial killer in order to locate where he has hidden his latest kidnapping victim. And, this is one of those movies that really has potential to possibly be something entertaining, not even enjoyable, something entertaining on the lines of something like a mix of Silence of the Lambs meets Dune, but nope. It's just one of those pretentious movies, like those really pretentious psychological thrillers, honestly, that just feels like there's so much more that they're trying to add into this, but it's one of those movies that feels so pretentious. It feels like the writing is trying to have this deep meaning behind it when there's really nothing about it whatsoever. And it's one of those movies that you can easily say is a style over substance movie. The visual look of the movie is impressive to look at. And I guess the performances in here aren't the worst. I mean, I guess I can't say anything too bad about Jennifer Lopez or Vincent D'Onofrio or Vince Vaughn. They're doing the best they can here, but it's just everything else that really is not worth it. The whole thing about trying to be something much deeper than it actually is, and just having a story that is so, like I say, pretentious, and it has that whole thing of Tarzan basically asking you, what does it mean? I want you to hear your thoughts on this. Like, I want you to write a better movie than anything that I could have possibly have done with this, even though he didn't write this. It's actually by Mark Protosevich, which, I'm trying to see what else he did. He did Poseidon, which is not a good sign, but he also did I Am Legend, which, okay, so hey, everyone can hit beyond right once if a clock is a broken clock is once every once in a while. That's the metaphor I was trying to get out. Good Lord. It's been a rough weekend, but yeah, this movie really isn't all that great. I mean, yeah, it's got the nice visuals to it, but like I say, visuals don't make the movie, and this is one of those movies that definitely is that case. It's just a boring movie. It's a pretentious film. It doesn't really have anything that interesting at all to say. It's just kind of like it just wants to be something different, but it doesn't have a proper meaning or a proper purpose for somebody to go into this and go, I really enjoyed this. And I came out of this movie going like, this is one of the most boring movies I have ever seen in my life. This is a film that really made me hate Tarsem Singh. I mean, this is the guy that makes movies that could be good, but every time I see a film that has come out, I don't get that feeling that I'm really getting something in return from it. I mean, the best thing he did was The Fall, and even then, it wasn't the greatest of movies, but everything else he's done has not been that great, so that's my thoughts on The Cells.
Did you just see the new girl?
Yeah.
The in crowd.
We can go in here and get as crazy as we want.
They bring new meaning to rich.
You would kill in that dress.
Sexy.
I don't know her. She's not your friend.
And drop dead gorgeous.
If I brought you in, I can easily throw you out. If only she would go away.
The in crowd. Look for it on video cassette and DVD.
Just when you thought Gossip was one of the worst WB pilot to be made into a movie around this time period, here's this one that gets that kind of has the same problems with Loser. Like, it's trying to aim for a PG-13 rating, and this is something that clearly should have been R, and even when it tries to be R, it doesn't work out in the end. I'll talk about that in just a second here, but you have this woman, Adrienne Williams, played by Laurie Hearing. She enters the in crowd when she is hired by a posh East Coast country club and befriended by Brittany Foster, played by Susan Ward, the charismatic leader of a clique of wealthy college students who are home for the summer. Brittany takes Adrienne under her wing, attempts to show her the benefits of the good life, and introduces her to one of the members of the inner circle, including the object of Brittany's affection, tennis pro Matt Curtis, played by Matthew Steele. Probably don't even know who he is, but when Matt shows an interest in Adrienne, Brittany begins to reveal her dark side, and Adrienne slowly starts to learn that Brittany and her pack of friends will do anything to protect their circle and the dark secrets they harbor. Did I mention that this woman, that Adrienne, is actually a mentally disturbed young woman who was just coming out of a psyche ward? Yeah, this is one of the stupidest things ever. This is one of the stupidest movies you will ever see. It's not funny. It's not thrilling. It's not engaging. It tries to be this guilty pleasure type of a film, and it can't even work that way because it just fails on so many levels. Like, this is a film that I have no idea what the hell they were trying to accomplish with this. Like I said, it feels like a bad WB pilot mixed in with somebody that said, hey, this movie Wild Things was a success because we had a lesbian scene with Neve Campbell and Denise Richards. We need to have this in that movie, and yeah. They took that out. No joke. The film was originally supposed to be rated R because of a scene where you have the two people in here, Brittany and Henry. Was trimmed down for a PG-13 release, but in the original R-rated version, Brittany removes her dress while the breasts are revealed. Then her dress was taken down to as low as her thighs. In the PG-13 version, it's not extended beyond the exposure of Brittany's breast, but a kiss between the two girls in here, like I said, because Wild Things just came out, and that's what we have to do here, was also trimmed for the film to receive a PG-13 rating. But why? Why did they need to sell this as a PG-13 movie? What about this concept is worthy of a PG-13? It fails on so many levels. It's trying to be a guilty pleasure campy movie, and it can't even do that correctly. It's a mess, and it really hurts when you consider that this is the same director that gave us Pet Sematary. Is almost over 10 years ago. It's just like, what a fall from grace this woman has. I mean, this woman made Pet Sematary and Pet Sematary 2, which are way better films compared to this. But, like, the first Pet Sematary is a fun, guilty pleasure movie. And the second one is also kind of fun, too. But this is just crap. Plain and simple. This is one I will tell you, avoid it like the plague.
Hello. Do you like scary movies?
Number 1, the body count is always bigger. Number 2, the death scenes are always much more elaborate.
What do you know about trilogies?
All I know about movie trilogies is that in the third one, all bets are off.
Hello, Sydney. Welcome to the final act.
Don't panic.
This is, of course, the third installment of the Scream series. It was set to be the last film in the series, but, well, technically it did eventually become that, at least for 11 years, because this one did not live up to the expectations that they were hoping with this film. You basically have a story where it's 3 years after the events of Scream 2, and you follow Sydney, once again played by Neve Campbell, who's gone into self-imposed isolation following the events of the previous 2 films, but is drawn to Hollywood as a new Ghostface, begins killing the cast of a film within the film, Stab 3. Scream 3 combines the violence of slasher genre with comedy and whodunit mystery, while satirizing the cliches of film trilogies. But unlike the other previous Scream films, there is more of an emphasis on comedic elements in this installment because the violence and horror are reduced down in response to increased public scrutiny about violence in media, following the Columbine High School massacre, which really automatically makes this less than the previous films, but it makes it even worse when you realize that Kevin Williamson, who wrote the first 2 films, had a 5-page outline for what he wanted for 2 sequels to the Scream films when auctioning off his original script, hoping to entice buyers with the potential of buying a franchise. And the writer that they got for this was Erin Kruger. Now, Erin Kruger is a guy we've talked about before. He's written a couple of notable films from last year, most notably Arlington Road, but this was this was around the time when he was a big name, and he got these various different scripts to write for. There was another one that he wrote with Dimension Films, Reindeer Games, that came out later on in the year, but getting Scream 3 was a big get for him, and almost immediately he took out all the notes that Williamson had and basically just tore it up, and basically that was a problem from the get-go with this film. This film clearly did not have what Kevin Williamson brought to the table with the first 2 Scream films. This is a film that clearly felt like they really were stuck on what to do here, but they knew they had an idea that this was going to be the last installment of the series, and honestly, it really shows that this is not the way that this thing probably should have ended, and I guess in some ways it helps that that Scream got a resurrection in the last couple of years, especially with the most recent films that came out this year and last year. But as far as this film goes, it definitely is a major, major step down from the previous film. It feels like they're just running out of ideas, and basically we're kind of forced to make this a trilogy in the end. It's interesting because this film took a whole different turn once they found out about the scandal with Harvey Weinstein. I'm reading on here about, several publications noted the parallels between Weinstein's behavior and the themes of abuse featured in the film, particularly those with Maureen Prescott, who's played by Lynn McRae. Basically, they're saying... Let me find it again. Here we go. The late mother of the film series protagonist, Sydney. In 2017, Kristen Janssen Kim noted the scene in which John Milton, played by Lance Henriksen, discusses taking advantage of aspiring actresses. The film's editor, Patrick Lussier, discussed those particular themes of Wes Craven's approach to them, saying of Henriksen's character, Wes, I think, was very interested in the character and not necessarily the villain. He certainly is a villain, but a catalyst for the villain's motivation. He's really the spark of events, or retcon that he is the spark for events in the entire series. And then not but a year after this one of the people, Adam White, wrote that the film was an angry indictment of sexual misconduct in Hollywood, predatory men, and the casting couch. He noted several instances of transactional sex within the film, including the characters of Jennifer and Angelina both making references to having sex in filmmakers in order to secure roles in the fictional Stab film. And Carrie Fisher, in a cameo role as a lookalike of Fisher herself, claims that the role of Princess Leia in the Star Wars franchise was won by the one who slept with George Lucas. White also noted that Rose McGowan, who appeared in the first Scream film, later accused Weinstein of raping her in a hotel room a year after the film was released. McGowan revealed in 2017 that she received a $100,000 settlement as a result of the action. And Emma Fraser for Sci-Fi Wire commented that throughout the series, the late Maureen is slut-shamed and victim-blamed. Fraser has also lamented the film's lack of exploration of these themes, stating that the film could have been a fascinating look at the crimes of this industry and the relationship horror has with sex, which... that's really an interesting way to kind of look at this, honestly, and it's really hard not to look at it that way after what happened with Harvey Weinstein, but I am glad to see that the Scream series kind of got away from that and kind of returned to form what made the Scream film so special with the most recent films, but it's kind of hard not to notice there, and their attempts to try to satirize themselves, it says a lot when Scary Movie, the Keenen Ivory Wayans movie, did a much better job of making fun of itself, the Scream series, than the Scream series tried to make fun of itself. And that one was much more successful. It was kind of like the equivalent to Airplane. When that came out in 1980, it was supposed to satirize the whole thing of the disaster movie, and ended up being the thing that gave the disaster movie its last downward spiral before they stopped making them all together. So we'll eventually get to Scary Movie once we get later on into the summer, but bottom line here is that Scream 3 definitely is a very underwhelming film, especially compared to the first 2 movies. And yeah, like I said, I'm glad they got back on track with the most recent films, because man, this and Scream 4 were definitely not the ones that this series should be proud of at all. So let that trailer be a perfect example of the really horrible way they sold this movie. You know how the first movie did a good job of making you believe it was actually a real story that happened and not something that was actually made by as a scripted storyline? Yeah, they didn't do a good job of handling it this time around. I felt like this was something that was being rushed out almost immediately after it came out. No thought was being put into this whatsoever. And you can tell because the basic plot of this is that you have a group of people fascinated by the mythology surrounded by the Blair Witch Project. They go into the Black Hills where the original film was shot and experience supernatural phenomenon and psychological unraveling. That's what the plot tells you, but the Blair Witch is barely mentioned in the story, except in things that are obviously altered in post-production. Like, this is a film that was notoriously cut down from what it is. I'm fully convinced that this movie was originally supposed to be its own movie. I mean, they sold this movie as a psychological thriller and a meditation on mass hysteria, but it was significantly altered in post-production, and the director Joe Berlinger would later claim compromised his original vision, and among the changes were a new soundtrack, additional editing, the integration of entirely new sequences that make no sense. It also doesn't help that you have a lot of actors in here that did go on to become actors in their own rights. Of course, Jeffrey Donovan went on to star in Burn Notice and Law & Order. Kim Director, somebody you might be familiar with, as well as Erica Learson. Yeah, they did not do a good job at all selling this movie as anything but nothing but a cash grab of the original movie, of the original Blair Witch Project, which the first trailer alone, the first few minutes alone in this movie where everyone's talking about the Blair Witch Project. You have all these different talk shows, all these different shows and movie reviews talking about the Blair Witch Project and all that stuff. Like, right from the get-go, it's completely lost on what this movie was trying to accomplish. All this movie did, when it was all said and done, was pretty much basically just try to make a quick buck off the original film. Like, you could say, like, there was the Blair Witch sequel that came out not too long ago in 2016. It wasn't a great movie overall, but it at least was trying to do something different with the original Blair Witch Project and try to make us forget about this horrible abomination, which I guess it succeeded, maybe not all the way through, but at least did better than I think most people would have expected to do. Like, it was an actual sequel that was actually trying to do something, but this movie really just fell apart right from the get-go. It was nothing but a straight-up cash grab. Nothing of significance happened in the film. Nothing about the movie makes any sense. The characters are really poorly written. The storyline makes no sense whatsoever. Like, nothing about this movie makes no sense, and it fell apart so quickly. And whatever franchise they were trying to set up here, that was long gone after this movie came out. And, yeah, this is a mess. This is an abomination of a film. Like, so many different levels. It's just a complete missed opportunity on so many different levels. And, you know, like, at least they tried to bring it back with the Blair Witch movie Adam Wingard did. But, I mean, it didn't work all the way through. But at least it was trying, unlike this abomination, which literally, I'm willing to bet you was an original concept, but it was eventually did it in post-production where they made it the Blair Witch sequel, which it really did not have a whole lot to do with the Blair Witch Project, except just mentioning the Blair Witch Project, but nothing in the major storyline that was going on. It's not a good movie. Bottom line, it's a terrible movie. It's one of the worst horror movies ever made. Not just one of the worst sequels ever made. One of the worst horror movies ever made, period.
Feel fear. See evil. Go Cyclone. Battlefield Earth.
Stupid humans.
Rated PG-13.
So this is based off of L. Ron Hubbard's best-selling science fiction novel. Ron Hubbard, of course, this is the guy who founded Scientology and follows a rebellion against the alien Cyclos who have ruled Earth for 1,000 years, with John Travolta as the main Cyclo, Turl. What more can you say about this movie than, fool, while you were still learning to spell your name, I was being trained to conquer galaxies. Like, that's the basic gist of this movie, is watching John Travolta completely humiliate himself in a performance that is so bad, it's pretty good. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the worst movies ever made, maybe the worst movie John Travolta has ever made, but his performance in this, my God, it's one of the only reasons why this movie has anything of noteworthiness. up to it. I mean, this is a film that could have really killed his career, and I think it did for a little bit there, but that performance, man, is pretty amazingly bad. It's one of the most enjoyably bad movies that you could possibly see. It's a terrible movie. I don't think I need to say anything more about that, but it's one of those, it's the perfect definition of a so bad it's good movie, because you could tell they wanted this to work. They were putting in a ton of money on this movie. It was supposed to be envisioned as part of the first of a two-part movie, but that's why this only covers the first half of this film, of the story overall. But my God, they created something that was far more enjoyable, probably not for the reasons they wanted, but it did lead to one of the most enjoyably bad movies you will ever see. It's a guilty pleasure film. It is not a good movie. It's a really lackluster story. The visuals are not that great. The acting is over the top ridiculous. So much so that I can't even say it without burping. Sorry. But that's so unprofessional of me. I'm sorry, but yeah, the acting in this movie is so over the top ridiculous. It's like they're in on the joke, but they really were trying to do something unique and something special, but the end result is a piece of garbage all the way through. I mean, plain and simple, man. This is just a bad movie. It's a really, really bad movie, but a good, fun, bad movie. It is the literal definition of a guilty pleasure, so bad it's good type of movie. I mean, it's a movie that's absolutely horrible, but my God, it's a ton of fun to watch how ridiculous and how stupid this movie gets. We've seen a lot of bad movies. This is one of those special cases where a bad movie like this can be one of the most fun experiences if you're in the right mood. Like, if you're drunk, or if you're just wanting to laugh at something completely ridiculous, this is the perfect movie to do it with. It's just a ridiculously stupid movie. God help me, man. This movie is a ton of fun, but not in the way they want it to be. So yeah, that's Battlefield Earth.
Yes, Patrick?
Would you like to accompany me to dinner?
Patrick, you're sweet.
That's a wonderful suit. You look so soft.
When you've got it all,
You look great.
Thanks.
you can get away with murder.
You're inhuman.
Did you know I'm utterly insane?
American Psycho.
The movie that basically welcomed Christian Bale into the lexicon of films, because this was his big breakout film, and he plays a New York City investment banker who leads a double life as a serial killer, and he's got all these different people that he involves himself with in the movie, including Willem Dafoe, Jared Leto, Josh Lucas, Chloe Sevigny, Samantha Mathis, Carrie Seymour, Justin Theroux, Reese Witherspoon. It blends horror and black comedy to satirize 1980s yuppie culture and consumerism, exemplified by Bateman and the cast in the film. And what more do I got to say about this movie, man? This movie is sold specifically on Christian Bale's performance as Patrick Bateman. It is so over the top. It is so hilarious and very scary and threatening at the same time. But God damn it, man, he puts his all into this. And this movie is just so friggin' brilliant. Like, the satirical element to it is just so well done. It's a great dark comedy. It's a great dark horror film. I mean, moments in this movie that you still quote to this very day. I need to go return some videotapes. Don't just look at it, Christine. Eat it. Like, if you want to know how much of a lasting impact this movie has had on some people, go watch the Flick Pick, because he's done videos similar to... He's done similars where he's basically kind of transformed into this character. Not in a serious way. Not that he's killed anybody that we know of. But he's made a lot of videos related to this film. And rightfully so, because it's a really fun movie. It's a really fun dark comedy, a dark horror film at the same time. Like, and in a way, you kind of believe you kind of buy into what Christian Bale's trying to say to these people, to say in this movie. Even though you don't agree with his actions, he's making good points. But, like, it's just a weird, fun movie, and credit to this director, Mary Herron, and this writer Guinevere Turner, who would later go on to write who would later work on another movie based off of this author's work, Bret Easton Ellis, who wrote the novel based on The Rules of Attraction, which is a criminally underrated film. We'll eventually get to that one in 2002, but it's Christian Bale, man. This is the movie that basically welcomes him into the world and makes people realize this guy's a great actor, man. Like, this is the film that literally turned his career around and made him the actor that we know him as today. And it's a great movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. American Psycho, definitely check it out.
A story this big can only be told on the world's largest screens. An IMAX experience. Michael Jordan to the max. Up close, some heroes get even bigger.
Or some might like to call this The Last Dance before The Last Dance. I mean, The Last Dance, I think, did this much better, but, man, to see this on a big screen really would have been something special. Especially on an IMAX screen. This is basically a documentary chronicling the life of Michael Jordan, who I still consider to be the greatest basketball player of all time. Like, LeBron James is a good basketball player, but nobody tops what Michael Jordan was able to do back then. And this is basically it's just focusing on the 1998 NBA playoffs, kind of like with The Last Dance, which did it better because it was more in-depth and lasted more than just one movie. And this thing only is about an hour long. And also follows other significant moments in his career. It's narrated by Lawrence Fishburne. You have a ton of different personalities in here. Phil Jackson, of course, Doug Collins, Bob Costas, Bill Murray, Ken Griffey Jr., Spike Lee, Willie Mays, Ahmad Rashad, Pat Riley. And yeah, to see this on the big screen probably would have been incredible, especially that opening, which I've seen this movie on video and then DVD, and it's great to watch, but man, if I could have seen this on the big screen, if we had an IMAX theater around here, I would have definitely gone out to see this on the big screen, because it would have been cool to really see this on that gigantic IMAX screen, especially that opening, which is really well done. It's a nice little documentary overall. It's nothing too spectacular. Like I said, it's only about an hour long, and I think The Last Dance did this so much better. But at the same time, though, it's still a really good movie, and it's great to see these moments is in a movie that was intended for a large screen experience, and it would have been cool to see it on a big screen. But as a movie on DVD and Blu-ray, it's fine for what it is. I think it definitely delivers what it promises. I wish there was a little bit more to it, but then again, that's why we have The Last Dance, which is, again, much better than this. But this is still good enough, even if you wish it was more. If you're a big Michael Jordan fan like I am, this is it for you. This is something that you should definitely check out. Michael Jordan to the max. Like they say, up close, some heroes get even bigger.
Ever wonder what chickens do when you're not looking? No chicken escapes from Tweedy's farm.
We've got to get out of here. Chicken identity confirmed. Ginger.
Julia Koala.
Miss Tweedy.
Miranda Richardson.
It's a pie machine. Chickens go in, pies come out.
What kind of pies?
Babs.
Jane Horrocks.
I don't want to be a pie. Don't like bread.
Rocky the Rooster.
Mel Gibson. Hi, Holly. Which book is it? Rock and roll. Those chickens are up to something. They're organized.
It's chickens.
They're on a mission. Operation Cover Up. That's chicken. Impossible. Mixed vegetables. Chicken run.
This egg will hatch in 5 seconds.
Of course, Mission Impossible 2 was the big hit of that summer, so of course we gotta parody that. Honestly, I'm surprised that I think that might be one of the earliest attempts for somebody to parody a popular thing coming out at the time, or something that they knew was going to be a big hit, which really, that's probably the only reason why they did it, but I digress. Trailer aside, this is still an incredible movie. This is, of course, Iron Man's first animated feature film, and it centers around a group of British anthropomorphic chickens who see an American rooster named Rocky, played by Mel Gibson, as their only hope to escape the farm when the owners want to turn them into chicken pies. And kind of like with Toy Story a couple of years prior, this was a game changer for animation. I mean, while Toy Story showed what computer animation can really do, this is a film that really showed what claymation could do in feature-length form. And for Iron Man, it was a big test for them to see if they could make this work. And this was the first of several films that they did with DreamWorks throughout the 2000s. And good start. I mean, it's a really damn good movie. It's got a great cast: Julia Sawalha, Mel Gibson, Miranda Richardson, Timothy Spall, Jane Horrocks, Imelda Staunton. Just a phenomenal cast. Really good writing by Carrie Kirkpatrick, who's written a ton of great stuff over the course of her career. Of course, the people behind Wallace and Gromit are behind this, and Wallace and Gromit is great stuff all around. This was just a winner all the way through. Granted, it has sometimes when it borrows a little too predictable elements to it. Like, of course, we got to have the liar reveal happen, and that's something that it's a really bad cliche, but you kind of have to do it at this type of a story, and it does run a little bit too long. But that's really one of the few flaws I have with the movie. I think the rest of the film is very clever. I think the animation overall is very well done. The music by John Powell and Hans Zimmer is really, and Harry Gregson Williams, not Hans Zimmer, although I think he did a couple of other Aardman movies down the line, but it's Harry Gregson Williams and John Powell doing the music for it, and I think they did a very good job of handling that. And it's a good, fun adventure film. It's a good, fun animated adventure film. It was really it's probably the best animated film to come out in 2000. Honestly, the more I look at some of the movies that we have on here, this is definitely very high up there, if not the best animated film to come out that year. And as of doing this, we're about 1 week away from the sequel coming out, Chicken Run Dawn of the Nugget on Netflix, which could be good, but it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be hard for me to not see these characters of Ginger and Rocky and not think of Julia Sawalha and Mel Gibson. Yeah, Tandy Newton and Zachary Levi are great actors, but when I think of these two characters, I think of what I see in the original film, and I don't know, hopefully it's good. I'm hoping for the best, but like I said, man, this is a great film. I can't recommend this one enough. Definitely check out Chicken Run. And so with that said, we wrap up another edition of Time About the Movies. When we meet next time, George Clooney and Mark Wahlberg star in The Perfect Storm. Mel Gibson, back again with a new film with Roland Emmerich, The Patriot. And we also have The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle. Those are the three films that will open up on 4th of July weekend of 2000. And we'll take a look at those on the next episode. But until then, thank you very much for watching. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit the playlist on the next page. Check out the previous episode. And don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button if you want to see more videos like this on this channel.
Drop a pass, you run a mile. Run every one of them. You run a mile. You fumble the football, and I will break my foot off in your... And then you will run a mile. You will be perfect. Perfection. Lose a game, they'll fire you. You must be outside your mind. I'm a winner. Victory! Don't be joking. I come to win. Remember, the Titans. Rated PG. Now playing.
So this is based on the true story of Coach Herman Boone and his attempt to integrate the T.C. Williams High School football team in Alexandria, Virginia in 1971. You have him playing Herman Boone, Denzel Washington, Will Patton playing Bill Yost, Boone's assistant coach, and real-life athletes Jerry Berter and Julius Campbell as Ryan Hurst and Wood Harris, respectively. This is a film that was pretty much a big hit right from the get-go with most audiences. Critics were not as receptive as they were when this movie came out. I think this movie, when it got decent reviews, it didn't get like bad reviews per se. Like it got a 72% in average reviews on Rotten Tomatoes, which was not bad. It's not bad by any means necessary, but did not get the proper respect it deserved right from the get-go, despite the fact that it was a big surprise hit. It has gone on to become more appreciative over the last couple of years, and is often considered by many as one of the greatest football films of all time. And honestly, I can't really argue with that because this movie really is worth it. I mean, it's a great story. It's Denzel Washington doing what Denzel Washington does oh so well. It's a really good sports movie, a really good story, a really good visual flair and feel to the story. Good characters to really get around. I mean, it delivers everything it promises. It has a lot of those memorable moments that have made it the classic that it is now over 20 years later. And really, there's not really much more I can add to it per se. This is just one that I always go back to. It's a classic movie on so many levels. I got nothing else to say that hasn't already been said already. If you have not seen Remember the Titans, I mean, you should be seeing it, but you should have seen it by now at least. I mean, come on. Like, it's a great movie. I cannot say any more about it that hasn't already been said already. So that's Remember the Titans.
You're in the emergency room in the Philadelphia City Hospital. I'm gonna ask you some questions. Where were you sitting on the train?
Against the window.
In the passenger car?
Yes.
You're certain you were in the passenger car?
Yeah. Where are the other passengers?
train derailed. Took a curve too fast. A second train collided with yours after it derailed. The debris spread over 1 mile.
Why are you looking at me like that?
There are 2 reasons why I'm looking at you like this. 1, because it seems you are the only survivor of this train wreck. And 2, you don't have a scratch on you.
I know what's going through your mind right now. You're searching for meaning in all of this. Know one thing. 131 people died so you could finally understand the destiny for which you were born. Are you ready for the truth?
So Unbreakable tells the story of Bruce Willis. He survives a train crash with no injuries, leading to the realization he harbors superhuman abilities. And as he begins to grapple with the discovery, he comes to the attention of this disabled comic book store owner, played by Samuel L. Jackson, who manipulates David to understand him. And quite honestly, this is probably M. Night Shyamalan at his peak. I mean, he made a great movie with The Sixth Sense, and then to go above that for this movie, I mean, this is really his magnum opus as a filmmaker. I mean, this is where it truly peaked for him. I mean, he creates a story that's a realistic vision of the superhero genre, does something new and different with it, and you really don't know, and it probably has one of the greatest twists that Shyamalan has ever done. In fact, probably the greatest twist Shyamalan has ever done. Like, you really don't see it coming at the end, and it's like one of those things, like, the first time you see it, you really do not see it coming, but, like, it's hard to really piece it together after multiple viewings afterwards, because it still really does take you by surprise at the end, when it's eventually revealed on what exactly happens with this particular twist in here. And Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson are just top-notch in this. I love the visual look of the film. The music by James Newton Howard is nicely done. The script is well done. Really, there's not much more I can say about this movie. It hasn't already been said already. It really is Shyamalan's magnum opus. No film he's made since then has ever topped this. And the fact that he was able to continue this into another movie altogether with Split and then Glass, that's pretty impressive stuff right there. It's a really good movie, man. I can't recommend this one enough. If you haven't seen Unbreakable, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice. Definitely check it out. I can't really say too much more about this one that hasn't already been said already.
To get back to his wife and kids, Ulysses Everett McGill will do anything.
Hey, any voice, Smitty.
But he's about to get off on the wrong track.
Who elected you leader of this outfit? Well, Pete, I figured it should be the one with the capacity for abstract thought.
Boys, just stick with me.
Yeah, we're in a tight spot.
Believe me, I got a plan. And I can get my wife back and we can get out of here.
Okay, I'm with you fellas.
Is you going to introduce us, Pete?
I'll feed him first.
So, Oh Brother, Where Art Thou is, of course, the latest film from the Coen brothers, following up on The Big Lebowski. This one takes place in rural Mississippi during the 1930s, and it follows 3 escaped convicts played by George Clooney, John Turturro, and Tim Blake Nelson, searching for hidden treasure while a sheriff relentlessly pursues them. And the story is basically a modern satire mixed in with a lot of elements of the social features of the American South, as well as a loosely based storyline based on Homer's epic Greek poem, the Odyssey. In fact, if you watch this, you see the sirens in that trailer there, a Cyclops, the main character's name is Ulysses, which is the Roman name for Odysseus. I mean, it's a lot to take in, but man, this is a great movie, man. I mean, this is peak. This is right when the Coen brothers were at their peak. Fargo, Big Lebowski, and then this movie. And I'm not much of a bluegrass person, but this movie will make you want to listen to bluegrass, country, and folk music. I mean, it's really, really damn good music. And the acting, top-notch, really funny stuff. Just a very hilarious film, a visually stunning film to look at. It's a great movie overall. It's a film that I cannot recommend enough. It's really one of those movies that I really cannot say a whole lot more about, but it's just a great movie, man. I love this film a lot. John Goodman, Holly Hunter, Charles Durning, a phenomenal cast in general in this film. Just great movie. Great, great movie. So
Hell no. I hate lawyers. I just work for them.
This spring, you may want to rethink your wardrobe a little. Get ready for the truth.
You might want to rethink those ties.
The whole truth. What makes you think you can walk in there and find what we need?
They're called boobs, Ed.
And nothing but the truth. How did you do this?
Seeing as how I have no brains or legal expertise, I just went out there and performed 634 sexual favors. I'm really quite tired.
Julia Roberts is Erin Brockovich. Rated R. Starts March 17th.
Or as Bart Simpson likes to call her, the prostitute with a heart of gold. I don't know too much about Erin Brockovich, honestly. Most of it I got from this movie, but I don't really know if that was actually true or not, but probably isn't. But let's talk about this film. It's a dramatization of the true story of Erin Brockovich, played by Julia Roberts, who initiates a legal case against the Pacific Gas and Electric Company over its culpability for the Hinkley groundwater contamination incident. It's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who had a pretty big year in 2000. He was nominated for Best Director for this, and then later in the year he directed Traffic. That one he won an Academy Award for directing, and Julia Roberts won her long overdue Academy Award for this performance, and it really is the best performance of her career. I mean, it's a prime example. This is a prime example of a movie where a performance is way better than the movie itself. I think Roberts really does give it her all in this movie. It really is the best performance of her career in this film, and it is what makes the movie worth it. The movie is not bad per se. It's just a pretty generic Cinderella story. There's not really a whole lot of good twists and turns in this. Really, it does feel like a dramatization of what actually happened in real life here. And like I said, it's not a bad movie per se. It has a lot of good performances all around, not just Roberts, but you see Albert Finney in there, you see Aaron Eckhart, Mark Helgenberger, Peter Coyote, Conchita Ferrero, Cherry Jones. I mean, there's a really solid cast involved in here, but the story is very, very generic. It's not really doing anything new or groundbreaking. It's kind of a been there, done that storyline, but it's the performances that do carry it over, and it is really the strongest performance Julia Roberts has given here. I mean, she does give it her all in this film. You can see why she deserved to win the Oscar for this. I mean, she really has given it her all in this film, and it does work because of her and the performances alone. If the story had been a little bit more creative, a little bit more of a generic storyline, like a film that's bordering on Oscar bait, this probably would have been something really special. But as it is, it's fine for what it is. I don't hate the movie per se. I think it is a well-made film, written by Susanna Grant, who wrote a criminally underrated film that we talked about a little bit before with In Her Shoes, which is great with Cameron Diaz and Toni Collette, which will come out in about 5 years from this point. But film itself is good, but at the same time, I don't think it's one of the greatest films that she's done. Her performance in here, I think, really is what carries the movie is to something that is definitely worth the watch. It's not going to be something you'll want to watch on repeat, but it's one you should watch just for her performance alone. I think it's the one thing that does carry the film over and makes it worth it when it's all said and done. I think it's a well-made film. Good enough on its own. Not one of the best films of the year, but it's a good enough film to say I would definitely say check it out.
America's top critics agree. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon is everything we go to the movies for. Exhilarating, visually stunning, spectacular, romantic, fantastic, visionary, filmmaking magic, the best movie of the year. Chow Yun-fat, Michelle Yeoh, and Zhong Zi. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, rated PG-13.
I mean, where the hell did this movie come from? This is a film that really came out of nowhere and really became one of the big surprises of the last half of the year of the 2000s. But in early 19th century China, in the waning years of the Qing dynasty, the renowned swordsman who yearns for enlightenment, Li Mu Bao, decides to give up his legendary Green Destiny sword, the sharp 400-year-old blade of heroes. To mark the end of a bloodstained career, he entrusts the excellent female warrior Yun Shun Li with the precise weapon to deliver to Governor Yu. However, once there, an audacious and nimble masked thief manages to steal it, as Xu Li is hot on the trail of the skilled burglar, unrequited loves, fervent passions, an unconquerable desire for freedom, and bitter loose ends stand in the way. And you can't really talk about this movie without talking about the amazing choreography. I mean, this is the film that really shows you what international cinema can really do. This is a film that really took a lot of people by surprise at how well this movie turned out, because, I mean, just the visuals alone, the fight choreography, just top-notch stuff. And this is Ang Lee at his best. This is what this is what got people excited when they said he was going to do the Hulk, and then look what happened with Ang Lee's Hulk. But this is a movie that really showed you what this director can really do, and he really did a phenomenal job with it. A phenomenal cast that includes Chow Yun-fat, Zhang Ziyi, Michelle Yeoh, just incredible cast. A really good storyline that you can easily follow. It feels like it could be really complicated, but you can really figure out you can pretty much figure out what's going on pretty quickly and really not get too confused on it. And like I said, the action sequences, the martial arts sequences, the fight choreography, just top notch. I mean, there's nothing more about this film that I really need to say to anybody, but I mean, it really is. It's really that great of a film. I mean, like I said, I really don't have too much more to say about this one. Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, fantastic film. Can't recommend this one enough.
Almost too good to be true. People magazine says it's terrific, and Premiere magazine calls it the movie of the year from the creator of Jerry Maguire, Almost Famous, rated R.
Coming soon to...
So the story centers around a young teenage journalist played by Patrick Fugit, who writes for Rolling Stone magazine in the early 1970s, and he's touring around with his fictitious rock band called Stillwater and writing his first cover story on the band. And it's also semi-autobiographical because Crow himself was a teenage writer with Rolling Stone. And like I said, this is the follow-up for Cameron Crowe after Jerry Maguire. I think this is the last movie he did after Jerry Maguire, the first movie he did after Jerry Maguire, I should say. And it's probably one of his best films in general. I mean, it's a really good, really damn good movie. It's a film that has a ton of great talent in front of the camera. I mean, not just Patrick Fugit, but Billy Crudup, Frances McDormand, Kate Hudson in an Oscar-nominated performance. Actually, I don't think did she get nominated for this? Now I'm kind of curious. Let me see here. I could have sworn she did. Yeah, she did get nominated. Her and Frances McDormand. And, yeah, they're both very good in the movie, but you also have Jason Lee, Zooey Deschanel, Anna Paquin, Fairuza Balk, Bijou Phillips, Philip Seymour Hoffman, Jay Baruchel, Rainn Wilson, just a ton of great talent all throughout this movie, and the film is just so well done, and you have so many great memorable moments to this movie. I mean, everyone wants to have that moment where they're standing on top of a house, getting ready to jump into a pool, and calling themselves a god to pretty much everybody out there, and just jumps into the pool. I mean, who doesn't want to have that moment, honestly? I mean, it's just really... this thing has a lot of great iconic moments to it, and it shows Kate Hudson's potential as a leading actress. I mean, she really is one of the best things about the movie in general. It's a well-made film all around, a really good film all around, and really, there's not much more you can really add to this that hasn't already been said already. It's a really good movie, well done on so many levels. It's a very well-made film. If you have not seen Almost Famous yet, do yourself a favor and see it, because, man, you are missing out on something very special. So.
Die by the clock. That's how long we have. Two lines. One to the airport truck, one to the Moscow truck. Nikolai, tick-tock, 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 tick-tock. 50 seconds! When that clock hits zero, you send this truck. I don't care if Lenin himself comes out of his tomb with a priority package. I absolutely positively have to get to Memphis tonight. You want this?
Okay, I'll cancel Saturday.
No. If I'm not here, I'm not.
Just so long as you're here New Year's Eve.
Be here New Year's Eve, I promise.
2 more minutes. Thanks. Hey.
Oh, Mom. Merry Christmas.
I love you.
I love you too.
I'll be right back. Fire! Engine 1!
I mean, the trailer pretty much tells you what the plot is right there. You have Tom Hanks as this FedEx troubleshooter. He's about to go back home to Memphis, and his plane eventually gets caught up in the storm. It crashes, and he's basically stranded on this deserted island in the South Pacific. The interesting thing about this movie, this was not shot chronologically. What basically happened was they first shot this back in January of '99, and they shot it back in January. They halted it for 2 months. 2 months after that, and then they resumed shooting that April is the following April in the year 2000. And basically, Hanks had to gain 50 pounds during the pre-production, and for the purpose of making his transformation more dramatic. And then after most of the film was shot, production was paused so he can lose all that weight, grow his hair and beard to look like he had been living on the island for years. And so, during this, Zemeckis basically made What Lies Beneath that came out the previous summer, that summer in 2000, and no joke, Hanks actually nearly died when he suffered an infected cut on his leg. They had to rush him to a local hospital, and he had to stay there for 3 days to go under surgery. Basically, the movie had to be suspended for 3 weeks to allow him to return from the injury, but really think about everything that this guy had to do to make this performance work. And the results speak for itself, man. Castaway is probably one of Tom Hanks's greatest movies. I mean, this is a film that is just so well done, and it works because of Tom Hanks. Obviously, he's one of our great actors. Helen Hunt also is great in the movie as well. Robert Zemeckis does a pretty good job of handling the story, and the movie just does a great job of, most of the time, you're just spending it on this island with Tom Hanks, and he has to find a way to keep you invested in what's going on, and lo and behold, he does in this movie. He has to convince you that he's trying to have somebody to talk to with this ball that he finds that he names Wilson, and the fact that he's doing everything in his power to get off this island and head back home. And 4 years pass. I mean, this guy was away for 4 years, and they finally find him. And I think, unfortunately, it basically ends with something that could be seen as kind of a little bit of a cop-out. Like, you see Helen Hunt and Tom Hanks in the beginning, they have a lot of good chemistry, but when he returns, she's already got a family, and honestly, yeah, it sucks that we don't have the happy ending for them, but at the same time, he's been lost for 4 years. I mean, at some point, you gotta have to go, but you kind of have to realize that, yeah, if you've been gone for more than a year, chances are you probably aren't coming back. So some might see it as a cop-out at the end, but at the same time, I know where they're coming from. I see what they're doing here, and I like the way that it does kind of give them a little bit of some closure there. Like, it would have been nice to have the happy ending, but at the same time, he's been away for 4 years, so it's not really surprising that Helen Hunt had to go find somebody else after over a year of waiting to see if this guy was ever coming back to him. And I like that he takes on this journey at the end there. Like, you really don't know where he's going to go at this point. And, it's really interesting how it plays out here. It's a really good film. It's a really engaging film. It really does deliver everything that it promises. It's one of Tom Hanks' best movies. It's one of Robert Zemeckis' best movies. It's a great movie. One of the year's best movies by a long shot. It's really a fantastic film. I can't recommend this one enough. If you have not seen Castaway, definitely see Castaway. It's worth it.